In the heart of rural Nigeria, where mango trees grow tall beside rusted zinc-roofed homes, and the sound of the local market echoes through the narrow dirt roads, a young woman named Anurika lived with dreams far bigger than her tiny village could hold. She was beautiful in a quiet, sun-warmed way, her deep brown eyes always searching the horizon for something more, something beyond the petty gossip of neighbors and the suffocating expectations of tradition. Everyone in her village whispered about Anurika. Some envied her for her beauty, others mocked her for her stubbornness. But no one dared to question her love for one man, Obiora, the son of a poor palm wine tapper. To outsiders, he was nothing but a local dropout who spent more time by the river than in any meaningful pursuit. But to Anurika, he was her sunrise, flawed, fragile, and yet full of hope. She gave up everything for Obiora. And in return? Let's just say, love can either build an empire or destroy a soul. Anurika came from a family of respected traders. Her father, Mr. Naji, was known for exporting cassava flour to bigger towns. He had dreams of marrying her off to the educated son of a wealthy Lagos businessman who often came to their town on business. A man named Toby, clean-shaven, tall, with a deep voice and English so crisp it sliced through the air. But Anurika didn't want Toby. She wanted Obiora. The boy with dust-covered slippers, whose laughter made her chest ache in strange, blooming ways. Her decision broke the Naji family in half. Her mother wept in silence, and her father stormed through the house cursing the spirits of youth and rebellion. He gave her an ultimatum: marry Toby and secure your future, or leave this house and rot in the life you've chosen. That night, under the cover of moonlight, Anurika packed a small nylon bag, took her mother's old wrapper, and walked barefoot to Obiora's family compound. He was sleeping on a mat outside, under the mango tree, when she woke him with a whisper. "I'm yours now," she said, her voice steady despite the tremble in her bones. Obiora sat up, startled. "What do you mean?" "I chose you. Over my family. Over wealth. Over comfort. Don't ask questions. Just hold me." And so, their new life began. They struggled. God knows they struggled. They lived in a mud house with one broken window and a leaking roof. When it rained, they placed buckets in corners and slept close together under the driest patch of ceiling. Anurika, who once helped count her father's profit margins, now sold roasted plantains by the roadside. Obiora tried his hand at carpentry but couldn't keep a job. The village men whispered that he was lazy, that he only married Anurika for her looks and blind loyalty. Yet, through it all, Anurika never once complained. She held his hand in the darkest of nights, cleaned his wounds after brawls, and defended him even when he failed her. Love, she believed, was about endurance. About sacrifice. But sacrifices, when one-sided, begin to rot. One evening, under the orange glow of a setting sun, Obiora came home smelling of cheap perfume. His eyes were bloodshot, and his lips carried the faint stain of palm wine. Anurika's chest tightened. "Where have you been?" "With the boys," he replied casually, dropping himself onto the mat. "Celebrating." "Celebrating what?" He looked at her and grinned. "You remember Ngozi? That big church girl whose father owns that provision store by the junction? She's opening a boutique in Enugu. She's going to employ me as her manager." Her heart stopped. "Ngozi?" Obiora nodded proudly. "She says I'm the only one she trusts. She believes in me, even when no one else does." Anurika's lips quivered. "But I believe in you. I've always believed in you." He stood, slightly swaying. "Then support me. This could change our lives." Days turned into weeks. Obiora started spending more and more time in Enugu, returning only on weekends, sometimes not at all. When he was home, he barely touched Anurika. Her meals went cold. Her touch, rejected. She began to sense something was wrong. The nights she cried herself to sleep increased. Her hands, once soft, became calloused from work. Yet she stayed. Because she had made a vow. Because she had nothing to return to. Because she had burnt her bridges for a man who didn't even glance back to see the smoke. Then came the blow that shattered her world. On a sweltering afternoon, Anurika went to Enugu unannounced. She wanted to surprise him, cook his favorite yam porridge, clean his apartment, be the kind of woman she believed real love demanded. But when she arrived at the boutique, her legs froze. There, behind the glass doors, was Obiora, laughing, holding Ngozi's waist, pressing a kiss to her cheek as they arranged shoes on a display rack like a married couple. The intimacy between them was unmistakable. Ngozi saw her first. Her smile faded. She whispered something to Obiora. He turned, and his face dropped. Anurika stared at them through the glass, like a child watching a family that wasn't hers. For a second, she expected him to run to her. To explain. To beg. He didn't move. She slowly turned and walked away. That night, she didn't cry. She simply sat on the edge of her borrowed bed, staring into the darkness, her ears ringing with silence. Everything she had sacrificed, her family, her pride, her future, lay wasted at the feet of a man who didn't even have the courage to apologize. Months passed. Obiora never returned. Word spread that he had married Ngozi in a small court wedding. They posted pictures online, smiling, dancing, starting a business together. Anurika didn't retaliate. She didn't post cryptic Facebook quotes or confront him in the market. Instead, she worked. She borrowed money from a cooperative to start her own food stall. She specialized in traditional dishes, *ofensala*, yukoto, fried yam with pepper sauce. Her seasoning was unmatched, and soon, people traveled from nearby villages just to taste her meals. In time, she saved enough to rent a better place, buy a refrigerator, and even hire a helper. People began to respect her again. One afternoon, while arranging ingredients, she heard a soft voice behind her. "Anurika?" She turned. It was Obiora. Gone was the pride in his shoulders. His shirt was torn, and his eyes, once full of fire, were now sunken and hollow. "I need help," he said. Her heart didn't flutter. It didn't ache. It simply stood still. "Where's your wife?" she asked quietly. "She left, took everything. Turns out she was using me to spite her father. She got the boutique in her name. I have nothing now. But I remembered you, how you stood by me. Please." She looked at him for a long moment, then handed him a plate of food. "Eat," she said. "You look hungry." He sat down silently. When he finished, she handed him a bottle of water. Then she whispered, "Love is not about who you sacrifice for. It's about who's willing to sacrifice with you." And with that, she walked away. Life doesn't wait for broken hearts to heal. It moves, mercilessly, endlessly, and in the midst of that motion, Anurika found purpose. What once defined her, the weight of heartbreak, the echo of betrayal, slowly became the very force that reshaped her soul. This was no longer a story about a woman scorned. It was now a story of survival, reinvention, and quiet revenge built not on hatred, but on healing. After that day Obiora came begging, Anurika didn't see him again for months. She heard whispers from the market women, how he now did odd jobs to feed himself, how Ngozi had fled with a political aspirant from Owerri. She heard how Obiora drank himself sick outside betting shops, how he'd sometimes be seen in front of her food stall, too ashamed to step inside. But she focused on her work. Her stall, Anurika's pot, had grown from a roadside tray to a proper open-air eatery with 3 benches and a canopy. She now supplied food to 2 secondary schools and had clients from nearby government offices. People respected her, not just for her food, but for her story. Many women came to her for advice. She had unknowingly become a symbol of strength for others. One morning, as she was cleaning catfish for the afternoon pepper soup, her younger helper, Chika, leaned over and said, "Auntie, that man is sitting across the road again." Anurika didn't look up. Did he say anything? No. Just watching. She paused, then sighed. Let him be. It went on like that for weeks. Obiora would come, sit across the road, watch her from a distance like a man frozen in time, afraid to cross into the present where his past mistakes lived. Until one stormy evening, as thunder cracked open the sky and rain drenched the village in sheets, he finally approached. She was closing her stall, tying up the tarpaulin, when she saw him, soaked, barefoot, shivering. Anurika, he said. I have nothing. I sleep under the church veranda. I haven't eaten since yesterday. She didn't respond. I'm not asking to come back to you. I need a job. Anything. Even if it's washing plates. Her eyes met his. For the first time, she saw not the man she once loved, but the boy he had always been, scared, directionless, always looking for someone to believe in him more than he believed in himself. She walked inside, took a broom, and handed it to him. Clean the space. You start tomorrow. No favors, no mercy. Just work. His lips quivered. Thank you. Don't thank me, she said. Earn it. And so, Obiora began to work for the woman he had abandoned. Each day he swept, washed, and cleaned without complaint. He never asked for forgiveness, and she never offered any. Their conversations were strictly business. She paid him weekly, fair, but not indulgent. To outsiders, it was an odd sight. But those who knew the history watched with wide eyes and hushed voices. Karma, they said, had returned, not with fire and thunder, but with humility and brooms. One evening, as they locked up the stall together, he spoke. You've changed. No, she replied. I just found myself. He looked away. I was foolish. She didn't respond. I didn't know what love meant back then, he continued. I thought it was enough for someone to love me. I didn't know I had to love them back, with the same sacrifice. A pause lingered between them. I'm not asking for us again, he whispered. But I needed you to hear that. Anurika nodded. I hope one day, you'll learn to love yourself enough to stop breaking others. And with that, she turned the key, locked her stall, and walked into the night, head high, heart whole. Time did not wait. It never does. Months turned to years, and Anurika's name became more than a whispered tale of heartbreak. It became a banner of resilience in a society that often measured a woman's worth by the man beside her. But this story, her story, was no longer about love lost. It was about rising from the ashes with dignity and discovering a kind of power that no man, betrayal, or circumstance could take away. 2 years had passed since Obiora began working at Anurika's pot. He never missed a day, never crossed a line. Slowly, the villagers who once laughed behind Anurika's back began to nod in respect whenever she passed. The story had reversed. She was the woman who had built something from heartbreak. And he, the man who had once been her downfall, was now the evidence of her strength. One morning, as she stood before the fire turning sticks of roasted meat, a black SUV pulled up beside her stall. A tall, polished man stepped out. He wore a blue kaftan and smiled like someone who had known hardship and overcome it. Are you Anurika Naji? He asked. Yes. How can I help you? I'm Chief Dubam. I own a chain of restaurants in the East. I've been hearing about your food since last year. Today, I decided to come taste it myself. He sat down, ordered a full plate of catfish pepper soup and jollof rice, and ate in silence. When he finished, he wiped his mouth, smiled, and said, "This food is better than what I serve at my own establishments." Anurika chuckled lightly. Thank you. No, he said seriously, I mean it. You have something here. I want to offer you a partnership. Let's open a branch in Akka, your name, your food, your recipe. I'll bring the capital, and you bring the fire. She blinked, stunned. You're serious? I don't joke about business. Obiora had heard every word. From the corner where he was scrubbing dishes, he turned, eyes wide with disbelief. Anurika stared at Chief Dubum for a long moment. Can I think about it? Of course, he replied. But don't take too long. Greatness doesn't wait forever. Later that evening, under the violet glow of sunset, Anurika sat on a wooden bench outside her stall, deep in thought. Obiora approached slowly. I heard the man. It's a big opportunity. She nodded. You deserve it, he added. A pause. I want you to know, he said, that you saved me. Not by taking me back, but by showing me what strength really is. I was waiting for someone to fix me. But you taught me how to face myself. She turned to him, not with bitterness, but with a calm smile. And you reminded me never to lose myself for someone else again. He looked down. If you go to Akka, I'll build something bigger, she said confidently. I'll train other women. Help them start their own food businesses. There are so many girls like me, trapped between love and survival. And me? He asked softly. Should I keep working here? She stood, dusted her wrapper, and looked him in the eyes. No. You should open your own stall. It's time you stop hiding under my shadow. Obiora swallowed. I don't know if I can. Yes, you can, she interrupted. You just need to believe in yourself the way I once believed in you. Tears welled in his eyes, but she was already walking away. That night, as stars dusted the sky, Anurika packed her things. She wasn't leaving to run from her past, she was stepping into a future she had built with her own blistered hands and unbroken spirit. As her bus drove out of the village the next morning, market women waved, children shouted her name, and Obiora stood quietly by the roadside, no longer ashamed, just humbled. He watched her disappear into the horizon, knowing this wasn't the end of a love story. It was the beginning of a legacy. True love is not blind sacrifice. It is mutual growth, shared pain, and equal effort. When one gives all and the other takes all, it is not love, it is self-destruction. Anurika's story teaches us that pain does not have to be permanent, and sometimes the greatest revenge is not revenge at all, but peace, purpose, and rising above.